CC that's going to come through here is so tough to deal with. The immediate follow. First blind now coming through as well. A second stun could follow. Kana. And right now you can see the Broken Blade does not care. Whenever his passive is up, he just walks in, does a ton of work. The flash! He does it early! The Bandito Soga! No!
Look on Leona. Go on Leona.
Yeah, go on Leona.
No flash. Oh, top. Where's the way?
MDK is falling apart after MSI 2023 loss, and Fnatic is reaching new heights after MSI 2024 loss. But before we head into the history, let's head over to a quick recap in a video so you guys can stay up to date.
2021, Elyoya won his first title, and then his second, achieving more in the first year of his career than Razork had in two. There was no question who the better jungler was. Hell, in 2021, Razork couldn't even reliably make playoffs. That all changed when Razork joined Fnatic in 2022.
Razork gets one reset, he's looking for more, he gets the second flag forced away, and Fnatic continue to barrel into the fight.
Third place in both splits, Razork was once again a real contender. And now it was Elyoya struggling to find the right roster.
They're going to end their entire split on a win, but this win, unfortunately, won't do anything for them.
Elyoya, who couldn't even make playoffs. Razork was on the rise, until he wasn't. 2023 made everything Razork had struggled with on Misfit seem like a walk in the park.
It's destruction! It's devastation! It's death for Fnatic in the river!
He had two of the worst splits in Fnatic's history, with roster swaps and outrage everywhere you looked. Unless, of course, you looked at Elyoya. He was out there winning, taking home a nice shiny shield in spring. But where was Elyoya during Razork's rise later that year in season finals?
Miraculous fashion! Fnatic find themselves in the finals here in Montpellier!
He was losing to Fnatic, once again losing to Razork. But then Elyoya came back. Winter Split's new roster coming with the promise of Spanish talent. Second place, baby, MDK all the way. Until now, back to the bottom, once again as Razork rises up.
The jungle king of the LEC still got it!
But these guys know who the f they're playing against.
The best jungler in Europe is chasing the perfect split, all the while Elyoya struggles to escape elimination. Can Elyoya break the pattern? Is there room for both to be on form? Find out in Fnatic vs MDK.
Welcome back to the LEC, where we have MDK going up against Fnatic. We're looking at two tales of two very different paths for both of these junglers, both feeling success but also failure during different parts of their careers. And I think that is something to really highlight coming into this, because Elyoya has had such high highs, but now it feels like this is a very low low.
Absolutely. As we already talked about, as I talked about in that voiceover video, it's like voiceover and stuff, you know what I mean? They never really are at the top at the same time. It's only one or the other. And right now, Razork's absolutely on top. When you look at Elyoya, most of the time you're looking at disappointing results, at least from this year. After winter, it just really looks like the only peak they've had this year. It just feels like they've fallen down ever since.
It's also worth pointing out that there's no shame being in Elyoya's position. Like, any pro player has been there at some point. You cannot have a long career without having bumps in the road. And honestly, more than anything, I'm just excited to see where Elyoya is going to grow from here. Because sure, right now things are a bit tough. But if he wants to cement himself as a great player, he has to find a way out of this hole.
And honestly, I don't even think you're right. It's about cementing yourself as a good player, but it's also making sure that MDK are not eliminated in summer. Not even making playoffs would be a huge disappointment for these players. They came together with the goal of Worlds. They said that from the get-go. When you talk to them in winter, it was all about Worlds. It was all about getting to MSI. It's internationals, internationals, internationals. They need to get it together now, and they have a tough road ahead of themselves. Their game today is against Fnatic. The game tomorrow, I've already forgotten, but I think it's G2. So I'm pretty sure that it's a rough road ahead of them, and they need to make it work now.
And it's also really concerning to an extent in terms of how exactly we got where we are today, because when we're looking at MDK at the start of the year, we were like, oh my gosh, like this roster is absolutely unbeatable. They have gone to such great heights. And now we're looking at them now, and the question of them even being in playoffs, not being 100% certain, that is a little concerning.
Well, I think the tricky part when you're on a team and you're struggling is that even if you have 5 individuals that are all really skilled at playing League of Legends, which they showed in the Winter Split, once you fall so far down the standings, and the atmosphere gets a little tougher, and it just doesn't feel as much like a team anymore. You really have to re-identify what worked in the past and how you get back to that point. And I think right now MDK is in this phase where it's either going to make them and really turn them into an actual superstar team that goes to Worlds and performs really well for Europe, or they continue speed running their way, out of playoffs.
But how do you do that? How do you identify what has worked and what is no longer working, and you turn back the clock? Because you can't go back in time.
I mean, it's a lot of practice, right? It's a lot of scrims, it's a lot of half-efforts, and then it's a lot of uncomfortable talks with your teammates, with everything that's going on, in terms of really finding out, well, again, what works. Also, correction, SK tomorrow, not G2. Anyways, I think it's really just about finding out what worked for you in the past, which was this super reliant, super heavy playstyle in the early game where you just full aggression and then temper it in the mid to late game. We've talked about it. It's been their issues in spring. It was their issues at the start of summer. They struggle closing out games and they struggle knowing what to do with their leads. They need to identify how they can fix that.
All right, we have Elyoya against Razork, a friendship off the server but not necessarily on the Rift. But MDK going up against Fnatic to potentially start their miracle run here to try and stay in the competition. Let's head over to our casters. We have Drakos and Dagda ready to cover it.
And our Kia player of the game for G2 versus KC. You are.
Yeah. Hello, guys.
Yike.
Yeah,
Yike.
thank you.
We know a lot about the lore behind these guys and the lore battle, but you're here to talk to us a little bit more about the gameplay and the pathing and the stuff the junglers like to talk about, optimize clear speeds, etc. Any initial thoughts on this matchup, right? Like between these two guys you've obviously competed against a lot. How do you feel about this particular matchup?
Yeah, I think it's a very hype matchup. I think it's the two best Spanish junglers playing against each other. It's going to be very hype to see. I think they both cannot play the same kind of champs. Like both are big Ivan players, and I don't know if that champ is going to be played today, but it's going to be hype to see how they will do.
Yeah, Ivern certainly has, just been generally powerful in the meta. Is there anything spicy you want to see, Rob? I can't ask Yike because his manager specifically pulled us aside and said, do not let him leak. Play Fnatic tomorrow. Do not let him leak anything or you will get in trouble. So
I was about to ask what do you think the priority jungle is, and I was like, let's not go that way.
It's fine. I won't leak anything.
LeBlanc, Skarner.
Oh, that's Ivan, man. Yeah.
There you go.
That's the one champ I talked about.
It seems like the only jungler that we see really consistently permabanned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so good, right, with Tristana if you ever get double AD carry.
That's why we played in MMSI, We were kind of good with that, and then...
No, just stop at the you're kind of good. You don't have to let people tell the full story. Just start at this part where you were looking really good with it.
Yeah.
I do also like the wave ban. Humanoid has definitely been abusing that champion quite a bit and looked absolutely spectacular on it. But Vi going to be taken off the board as well. Another jungler that we see very high in priority, but going to leave the Corki open, and that's going to be immediately taken, which I imagine is for Fresskowy with that mid lane.
Generally, when you're in these kind of draft situations, what do you prefer to be in? Do you prefer to be picking later? Our junglers in the meta right now, is it kind of just pretty easy to first pick? You're one of the few teams we've seen flex the Sejuani. The only team we've seen so far flex is Sejuani. Do you really care? Like, are you really worried about optimal matchups, or have you accepted your fate as a jungler that you pick early and you kind of just have to deal with what comes?
Yeah, I mean, usually the thing for junglers is to usually pick early. I think that's what I've been doing sometimes, but I don't mind picking late as well. I think I can always get some spicy picks late. But today we picked Sejuani first pick, and I don't know if they knew about Seju top, but I mean, you also picked Sin Sour, like instantly after I picked Sin Sour, so it's like, we didn't really fix it that long, but it's a good combo.
Certainly. Taliyah now going to get locked in. Corki, obviously the Zeri, not entirely certain about where the Corki is going to go. Patches did hit him a little bit. Looked okay in the previous game. Obviously a pretty unfortunate level 1 for Vladdy. See if whoever's going to pirate this has a better time. Taliyah mid lane, Taliyah jungle. Yike, what's your take? What's your preference?
I really like the jungle, of course, because I think she's a very strong jungler, but she's also strong mid. I don't know if we've seen it more mid or jungle this split overall, but I think she's very flexible, so she can really go both lanes.
How much do you rely on in jungle to have that set up from your team in the same way you would like a Lee Sin Ari combo or something along those lines? Or are you just happy to say, no, I'm fine with Taliyah?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need something with Taliyah. Like, it's the same when you play Taliyah mid, you kind of want some kind of setup as a jungler, like Vi or something like that. And as a jungler, it's kind of the same. Probably not from mid lane, you probably just need an AD mid, but then probably set up from like support, an Nautilus, something like that.
Makes sense. Let's starting to move in towards our last little bit on the pick phase here for Fnatic. I imagine you're probably going to go support here to try and keep that flexibility open, but always an opportunity to go for topside. But no, just going to take the Zhao, kind of show their hand immediately here as Fnatic can I mean, look, I've definitely liked Humanoid on the Taliyah. I think he's been very, very strong, and his team fighting has been spectacular in a lot of these mages, so it does make sense for him to try and continue that trend of the more mage-orientated mid laner.
Here we are now, second phase. Nautilus banned away. And look, all I'm saying is, Zhao seems broken. Like, what is this ulti? Why is it allowed?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the champ is pretty strong. That's why I picked it as well, you know?
Yeah.
But looks like Razork thinks the same. He could have gone Taliyah, but he wanted to play this in Zhao. Picked it early as well. I guess they saw the Sejuani, but then also they don't know if Serious flex. So maybe Serious flex as well, and then maybe since I will get countered, I don't know.
I've seen Broken Blade play it. I've seen it in solo queue from a couple other players as well on the top side of the map. Do you think it's pretty commonplace
as well
these days in solo queue? Do you think we should be expecting more Sejuani in pro play? Top lane, that is.
Maybe. I don't know if Bibi was the first one, right? That played it.
Leak. You're not supposed to talk. I mean, they're obviously playing it.
Yeah, it's fine. There's probably other top laners maybe preparing it, but yeah, I don't know.
I think at this point, Myrwn would be my guess for a Sejuani top enthusiast, given his love of things that are weird.
Picks,
anything that is off meta, he will want to play. But right now, Fnatic feel a lot more clear in terms of what they brought to the table. All those question marks, just support and top lane to come in.
That's the one I'm curious about. Like, with Rel gone, Nautilus gone, are you thinking, hey, we're just going to take the Alistar here? But Alvaro could go back towards like a Braum, and then you say Sejuani Braum, which is pretty nice. Leona still is there as well, but definitely going to try and limit the engaged champion pool that you can go for your Madlands Koi.
Now locked in. Options here. Alistar, the quick response. Rob, you're on fire today if you're long. The easy response. Is there anything that you're looking at specifically for pick 5 here on either side, Yike?
I mean, I kind of expected like Leona, Alistar. Probably like it was like the last two supports that's like kind of engaged, and everyone likes to play them right now. For the last picks, what's left? It's
top
lane,
jungle.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's Poppy.
Okay.
Look me in the face and tell me you didn't scrim Mad Lions Koi this week.
No,
I'm kidding.
we did scrim them, but
don't answer that. Your manager's gonna get mad at me.
Poppy could be a double flex, and Olaf seems like actually a good pick top lane into both of them, so they could put it off.
That'd be kind of sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I saw Olaf. I mean, he got buffs, I know, a little while ago. I think it was more towards his jungle clear, though, than it was towards his top lane, but that's kind of cool. Oscarinin bringing out a little bit of the spice.
An Oscar player who's been doing super well thus far this season. And when you look at kind of the early pathing, as we get closer into this game, and we talk about where you would want to be optimally, Yike, obviously it's something the team is going to talk about, but if you're in the jungler's shoes, is there a lane that you're immediately like, I have to go to the Olaf, it's going to be a fist fight, I need to be there, or are you just going to leave Oscar on an island?
Yeah, actually, I don't really know the Olaf Poppy matchup. I feel like Olaf is just gonna win. I would say like Olaf could maybe like later on just 1v2 them. So I'm not even sure if he needs attention. Maybe like early game attention to make sure he like snowballs a bit. But then I think he can just like run them down. Your Poppy Sejuani is not like very weak top jungle into Olaf. So since Zhao probably focusing more on like bot side would be my guess.
Yeah, it does seem like there's going to have a really hard time if they're not really solid on the setup.
Yeah.
Killing a Zhao and Olaf, right? They don't have a ton of burst damage, if not all the carries are there. And even if the carries are there, Kai'Sa Corki, pretty short range. Again, Zhao.
Yeah, his ulti is pretty strong. I agree with you. Strong ability.
I'm just trying to get you, like, I can just send this clip to Freak and I can say, professional jungler agrees with me. Please nerf this.
No, actually, no, I don't want him to get nerfed though. So,
please buff this is what the clip
I
will
don't
say.
think it's that strong actually. It's kind of weak.
Oh yeah, it's kind of weak.
Yeah, it's
sure.
probably up the duration of the invulnerability of the war.
Yeah. Looks like a good look. Well, we'll see how strong Zin looks in this one. Time for MDK versus Fnatic. Fnatic 5-0 up. MDK sent it 1-4 from Winter Finals to fighting for a spot in playoffs. It has been a fall from grace, but it could all turn around if they're able to take down Fnatic. Keep our eye on the early pathing here since we have Yike.
Yeah.
If you're Elyoya here and you're thinking, hey, Razork's probably going to try and play around bottom side, do you try and sync up with him to try and protect your bottom side, or are you more worried about Razork trying to go for some sort of invade that could then mess you up as you go on?
I think he could look to invade with Zhao, but it's not like Zeri is that weak in the jungle, so yeah, it's like Zeri could actually, you know, fight him if he comes, but depends on the prios. They should have bought prio. I think mid lane, actually not so sure. Maybe you guys know who has prio mid?
who has prio mid?
I
would assume.
I think after 2-3 it goes to Corki.
Yeah, Corki Gatling gun, early trades, level 1.
Yeah, I mean, they're both, yeah. So, Sinsao could look to invade, but not sure if he wants to. I think Seju would be happy if he actually finds Sinsao, knows his pathing.
And it says jungle focus, but we may have miscommunicated with observers. Humanoid is playing mid lane. We need to see Razork. Thank you, observers! Yes! Good job. Thank you, appreciate you. So we're just going to track early first clear pathing. We also have the power, Yike, through modern technology.
Yeah.
We can zoom in on the HUD, and we can
really?
We can show where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So if you explain, my boy Rob here will give your explanation, visual intention. Talk to me about jungle clears. Talk to me about pathing right now. Is it as simple as just clear all your camps at level 4? When do you actually want to be ganking if there's Xin? Do you have to gank his Xin early? Because my assumption would be against this Sejuani, you really need to get on the map.
Yeah, I think with Xin, you can gank. He's like very strong level 3, but you saw me, I use full clear with the champ, and it's always fine to full clear, especially now with the new change that they did to the jungle with like more XP and stuff. Like if you actually fall behind, then you might be like 1-2 levels behind later on. So it's a bit risky to look for plays now. And it's also harder to gank lanes because of all the wall stuff. So I think a lot of junglers are like more safe now. We might see someone gank. Like Sejuani is like a very common champ to also gank early. So he might do something cheesy, who knows?
Definitely a lot of good solo up. And as we saw from Broken Blade, right, base damage on Sejuani is pretty gross. This does a lot of work in early fights as the Raptor Fleeter comes through. And it seems like pretty standard, you know, top side to bot side. Do you think that's still true in the... I feel like I've said this for 5 years about jungle clears, where it's just like, oh, he started bot side. He's going to clear bot to top. Is there room for more creativity? It's a bit more action in the bottom side.
I think usually there should be more room, but right now it looks like a lot of junglers actually just farm a lot. Like Sinsao, he couldn't be top side, but Seju knows he has no prior, so that's probably why he started top, you know, to make sure he doesn't get invaded. Because that would be a like very easy invade for Zhao. So he's making sure to be safe to Sejuani.
Ultimately.
It does feel like at the moment it's kind of a case of, hey, let's try and keep ourselves safe and then move on. You're going to more than likely just see them take both scuttles and then back it on up. But I think it's going to be, as you say, like as it starts to move on, we're in a decent spot. Elyoya looks like he's just moving in, I assume, to shadow bot lane here, just to make sure they're going to be safe as he starts to move towards the crab.
Yeah, they don't know where Sinsao started, I think. I don't know if they had a ward somewhere, I don't remember. But I don't think they know. And yeah, he's gonna get the crab, most likely gonna base after. Don't think there's much he can do. I think whoever gets the first base is also a bit happy, because he has temp on the map, so he can always do stuff.
And is it on this second rotation of camps that you start thinking about, hey, what do we want to do with dragons and what do you want to do with void grubs and that kind of stuff? So how would you, as you're coming back out onto the map here, start thinking about your camps that you're going to take coming up towards those objectives? Yeah, so right now I would probably be communicating about the objectives, like grubs, dragon spawns at 5, grubs spawns at 6. So usually dragon is still like early objective, but it's also harder to do dragon. So I think Razork probably talking more about grubs because he's actually pathing up the top, and they have Olaf, Taliyah with cryo. So I think they have a very free grubs if they want to do that, and that might be the plan for them. I think there's still nothing really to do on the lanes, so they will probably just farm again. Maybe Seju could do something actually with the... She could probably do for a gank, yeah, if she knows where the wards are. And she doesn't.
Does not.
We'll
find them.
She could smell it at least.
Do you feel pressure in situations like this as a pro jungler?
Yeah.
Like that you're not immediately finding these gank opportunities? Do you feel like something's slipping away from you?
I mean, I feel very awkward when I walk for a gank, and then I sweep, and then there's a ward. So I just have to like leave, you know? That feels very bad to me.
Just head down, just, oh no.
Yeah. Go back to the camps. Because now, since ours should be a bit faster, I guess Seju got maybe base faster off, but...
Jun. Knockup is there. Punt it back into the wall. Decent damage coming in from Supa. No, only level 3, but so much damage on the Alistar might make things a little bit easier. Razork on the way down. First blood coming through from Fnatic. Second kill likely to fall. No, we're going to try to make it out of this one. 1 for 1, 2 for 1 now in favor of Fnatic.
Nicely done by Razork. Just able to get in onto that bottom side and able to finish off the kill. Supa, though, does end up getting one back. Will not be the TP, though, from Supa to get into lane. It'll actually be the... Looks like Poppy coming down here. Just try and collect these waves.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably know Seju is doing top to bot, so they should assume Seju is top side, and they're probably happy than fighting in bot side. They had a bigger wave, they know Zhao is probably first, so I think Fnatic just being confident fighting. They also won, so it was well played by them.
Yeah, it certainly was. Much more difficult now for Elyoya to navigate. 230 gold lead probably doesn't feel like too much, but Razork only a little bit behind in terms of XP. And as we mentioned many times already, Zin's out level 6. Gonna feel pretty good in this game. Humanoid, though, might be in trouble. Alvaro on the way in.
They'll probably get the splash.
Flash out.
Yeah, good flash, but you can see Fnatic, because they've gone for the play on bottom side, MDK do a good job of then setting up a ton of vision on the top end. So gonna make it difficult for Fnatic to try and go for this with Humanoid out having flash, but Now you got Supa and Alvaro on this top side, going to try and push out this wave, and then it looks like set up for potential take themselves with no on the bottom side.
Yeah, maybe they know Olaf wants to base right now. He doesn't have TP, so if he bases, they can probably get grubs. Looks like he's not basing, so might be a fight coming up.
Well, grubs have been started. Done clearing vision. Razork here as well. For now, Elyoya should be able to grab at least one, but MDK committing a lot of resources. You guys got 6 grubs really fast in the previous game. Is it finally time? Do people care about grubs? I know there's a brief period of time where they're considered completely troll. Was it just all it needed was for them to knock it down to 4 for it to feel worthwhile?
I think grubs are pretty strong right now. Like you could see in our game, we did the grubs, and then I was like hitting, I think, top tower with the hands, and we just actually wanted the tower. If you can do this.
Zenith Blade, Razor trying to keep things going. Wall off from Humanoid to try to deny Fresskowy entrance, and Elyoya forced to flash out, but the W in the back half of the exchange costs him dearly, and now Fnatic to grab a second grab a kill as well.
And there's so many games that I've watched from Fnatic where they've just blown open the map on this top side, where they've gone, hey, we're going to fight for grubs, we're going to have this separation from Humanoid, leave Noah to farm in this bottom side, and it's come back great for Fnatic once more.
Yeah, it definitely looks good. And I think the awkward thing now, right, is 1.5k gold lead. You have an Olaf on the top side who, for now, isn't winning out in terms of the individual 1v1, but you expect once he has some sustain, can start to do a bit more work. Is Noah pushing for 1v1 against Myrwn, ulti propped. Myrwn running. Zeri doesn't need to see in the bush to start autoing, but a nice sidestep from Myrwn, trying to dodge. Dipping, ducking, diving, flashing in, knocking up auto! Hits him with the tired Teemo! It's just another day of business! Yike, scale of 1 to 10, how big of an outplay was that?
That was pretty big outplay, I think. It was a good flash ult. I think he played good. I will give him a 8.
That is
solid 8.
That is the most tame 8 I have heard someone give, but I respect it.
And if you're Elyoya, are you just breathing a sigh of relief going, thank God, somewhere on the map someone has got to play?
I think it's a big kill to get. I think it's very important to get that.
And it seems like right now, Razork not ahead of the clock. The fastest time in LEC for Xin Zhao to get to level 6 has been 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Average time 7:48. So did all right in this game, all things considered. Sejuani in a similar boat. But I think, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong here, a lot of these fastest times are probably the result of early kills or some ludicrous power farming route, more likely than not.
Yeah, it's almost always, you know, snowballing, getting 2 kills in a lane or something, and then keep full clear, like full clear into kill. It's like the dream for a jungler, you know? And that's probably what those junglers got. Lucky them.
You could be one of them. We don't know. Next time we'll get that on the graphic too, just so we have full context. Yeah, but interesting to see. I think a relatively inactive early game for Elyoya right now outside of the grub take, and Razork obviously getting 2 kills. Didn't quite get to live the dream you're talking about, right? Wasn't full clear into 2 kills. Was full clear into wait around a little bit, then get 1 kill.
Yeah, I think it's still fine. I think it's very ahead of this game. It's a bit hard for Sejuani now because I think she has to look for plays like on the other side. Like she has to mismatch the Xin Zhao, because if Xin is there, Xin Zhao probably wins. It's level 6.
Yeah. Elyoya, it looks like, is trying to just clear camps as much as he can. Has to be careful. As you highlighted, doesn't want to walk in face-to-face with Razork, probably doesn't win out there. I mean, but it just doesn't seem like you can go top, right? You talked about it. Level 6 for Olaf. Post level 6, he can just ult 2v1, don't have the damage. So is there anywhere for Elyoya to go other than really bottom side of the map?
Yeah, it's for sure hard because for sure I think Olaf just 1v2s them, so he doesn't not want to touch top lane. But there's also no objective top side, so he can play to invade the camps, but then bot lane could also get dove. So it's like very hard game for the Sejuani right now. And I mean, he's just farming. I think he can't really do much. He can't really make a play when it's out posted as well. So it's probably fine. He could have maybe taken the red buff, but it's also risky.
Yeah, so what would you look for? You kind of alluded to the red buff there. Is it like a cross map? But is it, hey, I just want to set up vision and maybe I can then look for a play on top, or spot out where Razork is and then try and set up a play, you know, 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes in advance? Or what would your decision making be here?
You said Sejuani or Xin Zhao?
Sejuani.
Yeah, I would for sure be asking my bot lane, can I get dove? Because if they can't get dove and I go to the enemy red, then it's very bad for the game. So usually I ask my bot lane. If they say it's fine, then I will just go to his top side because this is also a good play.
Ulti here, Elyoya finding the angle to fish. Unraveled Earth, no flick back yet. Flash forward, Solar Flare hits, not quite synced up, but still might be in trouble. Myrwn trying to find the knockback, hits 2. Ignite ticking. Is he dead?
Oh,
nope, walking away. Nice play there from MDK.
Sub 15 HP. He was so close there.
Yike, before we let you go, because I've heard that you do have to play League of Legends tomorrow too. Final predictions for this game. You're no longer a caster, as much as I've enjoyed this brief period of time that we've shared together.
I'm back to a player now.
You're back to a player now. Who do you think takes this one based on current game state? I don't think I'll be surprised by your prediction, but I need to hear you say it, Yike.
Yeah, I mean, for now, it looks like Fnatic has like a very good lead. Like Zhao already has his item, so he can really take over the game. So I would bet on Fnatic right now, but MDK, they can always have a chance to come back. They have a strong chance. Corki, Kai'Sa, they're gonna be strong later on.
Something to look forward to. Yike, thank you so much. We'll see if the Xin Zhao build's Eclipse second. That's the standard build. For now, though, we'll say goodbye to you. Thanks so much for coming on.
See ya.
Everybody give it up for Yike. One more time for Yike for joining us at the Kai'Sa Desk. Some excellent insight. It was a pleasure having you, my good man. Your manager will be outside waiting for you.
You didn't say anything,
probably
you're fine.
ready to yell at me. So you try to figure that one out, but now the engage at bottom side. Supa already on the wrong side, but Jun getting lower and lower. Ulti coming out, lightning crash from Noah. Jun, one more auto, gonna proc the plasma, but won't mean too much. And it's interesting to hear how depressing it seems to be a tank when you fall behind in the jungle. You ask your jungle, you ask the rest of the map if they can survive without you. If the answer is no, you're not allowed to do anything else.
And then you come to the bottom lane and hope you survive with them. In this case, is Elyoya, as they try to make the play. But nicely done by Fnatic, able to keep themselves in check. Now Razork down on this bottom side. He's going to be able to keep up the pressure and let them shove this out. But I mean, I agree with you. Like, you're in a really good spot here as Fnatic, where you kind of just get to clear out your jungle, set up vision in the river, try to keep up this pressure, and just continue to look towards, you know, stacking dragons, or even if you get some time alone with a turret, you have 5 void groups.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that while I have been enjoying the sheer amount of engage that's been coming through on top lane in the last few matches, especially today, I really like the Olaf as an adaptation to all of these super beefy front lines. Because we're seeing a lot of games where you have some sort of bruiser top lane, right? Maybe Renekton, tank in the jungle like Sejuani, obviously very common pairing, and then an engaged support as well. And so when Olaf can be a little piece of front line, not much, right? Doesn't offer that CC, but can just ignore those champions, or 1v1, or 2v1, or 3v1, those tanky champions who lack the burst damage to get through his health bar. That's just such a powerful tool as we get later, and you never want to be in a position where your Kai'Sa and your Corki aren't allowed to hit the Zeri, the Taliyah, the Xin, and instead have to focus their damage on the Olaf for risk of just losing the fight.
And I also love the fact that we're getting to see Oscarinin kind of flex his muscles a bit. I think he had a spectacular MSI, and ever since he's gone back, it feels like that confidence is there for him. He's been great when it comes towards team fights. He's got like solo kills in the 1v1. Like, the guy has been absolutely brilliant. So letting him go, hey, no, I want to bring out the Olaf. This is a time when it's a great pick, as you already alluded to, and he's going to be in a position where he can try and carry from side lanes or even be a menace in team fights. It feels like Oscarinin has become such a vital component to the success we're seeing at Fnatic this split.
Definitely has. Opposite side for Myrwn, of course, already got the 1 kill. Pretty flashy. Still at a 500 gold deficit in MDK. Not doing too bad in this one, but we need to see what the performance looks like as we get into the mid-game. Humanoid, the mini-map there, waiting to find the wall angle in case MDK overstep. But that's the big thing, right? For Fnatic, it was that they were too aggressive at times. They cleaned that up this season. Late pulverize, or early pulverize, excuse me, from Alvaro. Means he doesn't quite get the interrupt that he was looking for. But it doesn't matter too much. Not going to be forced to ulti. Dash out from Elyoya as well. They get a lot of spells, a lot of long cooldowns in exchange for very little from MDK, but they're not able to approach. They're not able to walk in.
One pick could have been the Rift Herald, though, and that's what Fnatic are really trying to eye up. You can see Fresskowy thought about walking the short way back to top side and then realized there was an Olaf cutting him off, so goes back. Humanoid, getting nice damage onto Myrwn, though.
Knockback. A trade of knockbacks. Flip back onto Myrwn. Myrwn gonna send Humanoid back to his base. We'll just retreat.
Does mean Humanoid is way more potent if he does end up TPing in here, though.
Jun going in. 3-4. The stun now coming out to follow up. Ready to follow. Noah there with the lightning crash. MDK forced back. Ulti in the meantime coming in from Elyoya, but no one really wants to follow up. And it looks like Fnatic is going to be uncontested on the objective here. The initial push coming through from MDK not going to work out. And Fnatic spent a lot of time around topside to make sure that they could have this, but the counterpunch from MDK not super impactful yet as Fresskowy in trouble. Flick still hitting. Humanoid happy to have the 1v1, but soon Oscar's gonna look to make it a 2v1 or 3v1 as Jun shows his face too. Fresskowy, don't know where you go. Out of options, nice sidestep, he's clean with it. Oscarinin proxying the wave.
He's just healing all the damage Fresskowy's putting down. Jun gonna tank this up. Feels like they're done with this.
Save the manatees, folks. Fresskowy gone. Yeah, there it is. First turret in the meantime. Taken in the bottom lane, but does not matter too much. Oscarinin happy to support his team because the topside tower as well. And Fnatic 2K advantage.
Yes, the fact you get to answer turret for turret and get a kill is just super nice. Plus, you have Rift out now for trying to take that mid lane objective as well. It feels like MDK are kind of running out of options a little bit, and it's more how much can we gain on a cross map than anything else. Now, don't get me wrong, I think they played the setup there quite well in baiting out a lot of spells from Fnatic, but even when you get those spells, the fact you can't follow up says a lot about where MDK are in this game. As everyone starting to come down onto the bottom side, Fresskowy, oh, just spots out Jun.
Oof. And you can see the Santander total gold. Fnatic 3 out of the 4 top spots. Of overall, Razork now dropping down the Herald. Fnatic just looking to bully down and break down this bot lane tier 1. Razork will not miss the charge, crucially, but the Might's there. Getting 5 already, we heard Yike talk about it, right? It's such a backbreaker, or can be. One more charge here from Humanoid. MDK not in a great position to follow up, and Myrwn continues his job of breaking down towers. He does have a hammer, it seems like what would be good for, but Elyoya already caught out the true damage, crushing Zhao out there as well. MDK just cannot fire back. Instant TP coming in.
But it's too late. Fnatic, they already got the tower, they got the charge, and Myrwn ended up giving up his pressure on the top side to clear it out. Now, Fresskowy is going to teleport up to the top end to make sure they can answer turret for turret, but that's all the teleports down now on the MDK side, and with 3 minutes until Dragon, means that Fnatic can try and force that objective as a 5-man group without having to worry about MDK looking for side lane plays.
Yeah, it's frustrating too, because Myrwn on the side lane, he's also the only member with healing reduction right now. And you have so much healing between the Xin and the Olaf. So again, the windows of opportunity, the options available to MDK, few and far between. Of course, as they scale into the game, things might get a little bit easier. We've seen how much damage a Kai'Sa can do once she gets under that 2-3 item breakpoint. But Noah on hyperscaling, while the rest of his team is doing good early game, does feel like a recipe for success we've seen many times from Fnatic.
And I also like the way Fnatic are setting the map up at the moment. It's Humanoid shoving in mid, after they've shoved in top, they get a ton of vision in this top side, and it's just a case of, hey, now we can start to exploit the fact that you don't have these side lane turrets to push inside and collect on towards the mid lane and force MDK back. And MDK at the moment is trying to push Fnatic out of that jungle, but with 2 minutes until Dragon, it's kind of a slow burn where Fnatic will just play for the team fights where they have found their most success.
And right now, again, easy for them to navigate. Stronger on side for the most part. Definitely better push when it comes to just what the Taliyah can offer. Blackfire Torch, again, a favorite for Humanoid. Not something I like as much on the Taliyah, but something he's been using on Hui in just about every single game, even as we see a lot of people reprioritize to Leandries on the traditional Blackfire Torch champions.
Yeah, it can be somewhat useful because it still is that lost chapter item, and so you still get that mana regeneration, which is great. But it's definitely been falling off a bit.
Still a lot of beefy boys on the opposite side, right? Happy to have a bit of extra burn, a bit of extra sustained damage as you go through, and very easy to keep that buff up and running in terms of percentage AP. Ultra Shock Laser connecting onto Alvaro, taking bone plating.
Yeah, but this is what I was talking about now for the Dragon coming up. You can have that push coming through for the Corki on that top side, but without the TP, he's going to have to very quickly kind of cancel that out to make his way back down onto it. That was not the button I hit, but down onto that bottom side, so then you can actually
Rob,
set yourself up correct.
Give me more arrows.
Yeah. There's supposed to be the free hard draw. It's supposed to do
that
this.
One.
That's the easy one, you see?
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Too many buttons.
Yeah. Or just, I don't know.
I don't know why Valorant has a bald button.
Yeah.
That's what's unclear to me. That was not our button. That was Valorant's button. We swapped up.
Yeah,
That's why we have.
They don't have the dumpster fire.
No, not the dumpster fire. It's also just fire. Why does it specifically say dumpster fire on the button? That's a weird feature.
I don't know the mental space whoever put that on was in.
Nope.
You know.
I can guess. This is not the time for speculation. Is Jun going to get interrupted as he tries to take the Hex Gate out? Force 2 flash now. Good follow-up damage, but MDK gonna have to be content with just the flash. Traded for the Ignite here. Everyone walking up. Nice backstep.
These are nice moments from MDK, though. Again, you're kind of just disrupting the flow for Fnatic, so then you can get position now on the Dragon area, set up then for a potential play, and you have to walk into this blind as Fnatic, so maybe they decide to just trade instead and look for the mid tower.
Wicked. Anyway.
It's a remix.
Fnatic, though, ready with the group. Humanoid off to the side to lay down the wall. Zoning MDK in or out, it's their choice. They have chosen out as Alvaro Hex flashes over the wall. 3K, it's getting lower. MDK, not the confidence to pull the trigger there. Again, wicka wicka. Guys, we gotta keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
It's like one of those
gonna run out
Instagram
of-
reel tests. Quick, how many items did spot the 6 differences in this photo?
I'm glad we went that direction. I was about to run out of producer calls.
Ultimately, like, this game is pretty tough. And I feel bad for MDK, right? Because I feel like their winter split was so much about confidence and individual prowess. But you can see that as they've struggled to find these leads in spring, and even more now in summer, we haven't got to see that individual flair that really was like the hallmark of their winter play style. Is now a bit more aggressive playmaking, 2-man headbutt. Supa, again, uncontested, good damage onto Jun. Slow there from the Sejuani ultimate. Jun getting lower and lower, but he just refuses to die. Doesn't have the Warmox though, so will be forced back or might just opt to stay. Uncertainty around whether or not MDK want to start this Baron from Fnatic, but MDK are not interested, do not want to take the risk.
I think the biggest thing that MDK are worried about is the team fighting for Fnatic, because I really believe that has been where they've shown their best, is finding moments how they can bring Humanoid in on a flank, how they can get Razork involved in the fight. Even the positioning on where they take fights has been significantly upgraded, but Oscarinin gets the tower here.
Yeah. Grub buff walks up, single auto. Ulti now, unstoppable. Can they burst through his health bar? Good damage now coming for Supa. They want to shred through. One more auto will do it. Shut down onto Oscar. Yeah, he can 2v1 a Poppy Sejuani, but not when a Kai'Sa is around. Fnatic, though, starting the objective 5k. Getting lower. Elyoya coming in. 4k, 3k, getting lower. Excellent stun from Jun to keep them out of the pit. Can they make it in? It's getting closer. Flash in the steal. Not going to happen. Razork secures the Baron for Fnatic, but now MDK want to strike back. Want a bit more money as Razork commits onto Supa. Good damage coming in. Locked to the Iron Solari from Elyoya. Keeping his carry. Standing MDK. Looking to make a quick punish, but it's Fnatic with the Baron.
Well, Fnatic might lose even more. They're less than 1,000 gold on the Red Bull Baron power play, and they're about to lose mid tower as well. Fnatic, that questionable as to whether how worth that it was. If it was Humanoid or Oscarinin who's still at the buff, could have been vital, but the fact that you're only down to 2 members with it is not great.
Yeah, still a gold positive play, but forcing the 50-50 as well. Definitely a risky call. Did their best to make sure it would work out in their favor, and we take a look at how close this was.
You see Jun trying to keep Elyoya out of the pit, stuns Alvaro to buy space, but Fresskowy does a great job of getting onto Humanoid on the opposite side of the fight. And Sejuani doesn't quite get into position to get that smite, but it means that they're just able to chase down Razork because everyone is running for the hills. So with only Noah and Jun getting out, yes, slight gold lead still there, but gonna messed up the tempo quite a bit. You can see it's MDK now who are on the aggressive, getting into Fnatic's jungle.
Anything they can do to slow Fnatic down to stop them from using the Barons they have at their disposal. Again, only on Noah, Jun. They're still trying to make the most of it. Break down this mid lane tier 1. Again, the downside of the Olaf, right, as good as he is in some of these skirmishes, he's not the best at really sieging or threatening in these situations. Isn't really just going to run under tower.
And this is the problem, because you've only got the 2 members with the buff, Fnatic feel the need to group up to use the Baron buff, which is allowing these TPs to come alive for MDK. Fresskowy can continue to pressure top, knowing he can always TP in, and MDK are doing a great job of threatening this area, which is the connection point for Fnatic.
Knocked up onto Myrwn. Full committal now in the fight. Noah falling up with an immediate bit of damage as Myrwn gets taken out. Humanoid just continues to chase onto Alvaro. Headbutt coming through. Pulverize likely to follow, but the flick back still hitting Alvaro. That's the knockup. Razork gonna follow. Ulti there from Alvaro, but the health bar's too low, and Olaf has more than enough true damage to finish the job. Fnatic still gonna make the most of this Baron buff. 49 seconds left, but it looks like they're trying to break down 2 towers with it.
Bad Lions are trying to keep Fnatic interested on that corner, just seeing if they could deny them the time onto Fresskowy, but now they're still going as Razork goes in, but pushed back, and Fnatic will crack open some of these towers just after the skulls of MDK.
Oof. I mean, brutal but fair, right? 2k Baron power play now as they are able to grab a couple of those objectives. And I'll say I like the Zeke's convergence itemization. Fnatic have been very consistent in doing this on melee champions. Relatively cheap item purchase when you ult, gives you that slow field. So good for the Olaf and Xin. That much harder for any target to get away. You can see them just continue to get tankier as well, because Kai'Sa gonna have to pick up a lot of magic damage in terms of the overall team's damage output. So easy focus onto some armor itemization from Oscar.
You have to be careful here as Fnatic though, because there is that wave pushing in on the top side that if you lose this fight, MDK could immediately teleport too. So Fnatic want to try and get into a good spot. Humanoid looking for the flank.
TP from Myrwn. Oscarinin off to the side. Decent flick from Humanoid. Oscar gonna take a bit of poke here. Fresskowy doing what he can to keep that Olaf at arm's reach, but he doesn't really have much mana.
Fnatic playing this nice and slow, making sure that they can find their positions. Jun is the person keeping my eyes on. That engage is going to be big for him as Fresskowy spotted off to the side. Noah could 1v1 him.
Noah looking for that angle. Valkyrie out from Fresskowy. Wall again. Set play from Fnatic. We've seen this multiple times. Alvaro hex flashing over the wall. We've seen this too, but now MDK are ready to fight this one. Instantly, Olaf is going to try to go in. The dragon will be picked up by Elyoya, but can MDK find the fight? Steadfast Presence doing absolutely nothing, and Fnatic starting to run MDK down. 80 carries still standing, but they just don't do enough. The front line of Fnatic is too damn strong, and Elyoya just has to run for his life.
Fnatic, again, their team fighting is just so spectacular. Finding the moment where Humanoid separates the fight, buys a space. Yes, the steal comes through from Elyoya, but the team fight is what Fnatic end up picking up in the end. And it's, again, just making sure Noah chases Fresskowy and he's able to regroup with the team. The ult from Humanoid keeps MDK out, and it's deja vu. This is almost the exact same fight that we saw MDK try and take in the previous Dragon. This time they get the steal, but it's, again, Fnatic playing front to back. Noah not really under threat. He's got Humanoid by his side to deal with the Poppy, and then it's the slow chase down of MDK, who just have no mana to try and use the poke that the Corki and the Kai'Sa bring.
Yeah. This is one of the frustrating things about the Corki changes, right? Is they upped his mana cost, and it's part of the reason why we see some Corkis itemize 4 tier early on, right? Being forced into that early purchase to ensure that they can just spam out on abilities. And it's just something that isn't present for Fresskowy at all in the build. So when he's forced to clear out these waves, when he's forced to come to a fight without having the chance to back, he might just very often find himself in a situation where he cannot use as many spells as he'd like to. Mana not often a resource that we look at in the late game stages of professional play, but when MDK don't have access to their blue buff, it becomes a very real issue. Nice knockback onto Myrwn. Solar Flare does not hit, however.
A lot invested here on the top side as both teams want to get that tier 2, because Fresskowy is pushing in on the bottom side, and he's going to be able to snag that one for himself. So even though it's Fnatic again aggressive on the map, it's MDK who are actually coming out with the lead.
Got to keep the pressure up. Again, just trying to get the gold closer and closer. See if they can find their angles and fights. 3 item carries on both sides. If Fresskowy and Supa find that isolated target, they can burst through just about anybody.
Yeah, as you say, well, like LDR completed for Noah is such a massive pick-up. Rabadon's just completed. And with Baron now about to spawn, MDK are at least on towards the objective first with mid-push coming through, but Fnatic are no pushovers, and Oscarinin
immediately trying to start the fight. Razork ready to turn back. Supa really hasn't had the chance to auto-attack yet. Will now finally start to do a little bit of damage, but the ulti from Alvaro not doing much of anything, and Oscar just going to flash into the melee range of Supa. Razork immediately going to follow. They're just looking to eat some carries. Myrwn tanky, but not anymore, as again, he's just going to get shredded down by 4 members of Fnatic. MDK walked in, but they did not want that fight. Fnatic just continue to slowly but surely tear through Mad Lion's Koi.
The target selection from Fnatic, they see Supa for just a moment and immediately dive onto the Kai'Sa, tear her asunder, and yes, Fresskowy got Humanoid, but he's out of the fight after that. You just have more carries on the side of Fnatic that can keep the ball rolling, and that's now another Baron going across.
And again, this is the struggle of the Kai'Sa, right? If you're behind and you can't DPS check a lot of these champions like the Xin, like the Olaf, they destroy you.
You can't even get peel. It's just,
like,
it's just this angry
ults,
Viking.
You don't do any damage, and then if you want to do damage, you need to be in his threat range, which, when he's very far ahead, is a terrible, terrible deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to feel, because Alvaro, it really looked like he wanted that fight. He did not, as much as it pains to say. But topside duo of Razork and Oscar. We were singing Oscar's praises prior to this game, how good, how pivotal he's been. Really felt like he came into his own at MSI in lots of moments. Not the moment that we don't talk about anymore because it makes us sad, but the rest of the moments. And he's brought that home.
But I think it's opened up the kind of style we're seeing from Fnatic, which is we want to play on the top side of the map in the early game. Look for fights of Void Grubs, try and look for fights of Rift Herald, use those team fights to snowball our advantage, whereas Noah is just silently farming, getting plates, getting ahead on that bottom side, and then he becomes the monster that he is now, which is a near full item Zeri who's about to take over in these fights.
Yeah, and a player who isn't afraid to look for the aggressive angles over the walls. A bit of parkour as Razork again is just going to start the fight. Humanoid there to follow up. Alvaro is supposed to be tanky, he's supposed to be immune to damage, but the true damage, again, the reckless swing. coming in from Olaf, coming in from Oscar. He's just slowly shredding through Elyoya, and Supa just doesn't do enough damage. They're burning everything, and Oscar refuses to die. Just Ragnarok his way through the team. Myrwn, the follow-up is there. The dash does absolutely nothing, and it feels like this is a victory march for Fnatic.
It's more than one victory march for Fnatic. The undefeated streak looks like it's about to continue for Fnatic as they rock up against G2 tomorrow. This base is not going to last very long.
They just do too much damage. They're so far ahead. 4K gold lead each for Oscarinin and Razork. Monster performance from the top side. Jun again wants to keep it going. Fnatic just going to obliterate them and then take the towers next. Supa doesn't even really get the chance to auto. Gets a Q, gets an ulti, and that's all. Fnatic remain undefeated in the LEC.
It's been a long while since we've been able to say that sentence, but Fnatic deserve it. 6-0 now. They have looked absolutely unstoppable, but the big boys are there tomorrow. The Classic will be there. But if they are able to surmount that, the sky's the limit for this Fnatic squad. They look so good.
They feel pretty unstoppable right now. Of course, every time we said that about a team with a win streak in the past, they've immediately lost the game. So, other than Fnatic 2015. So we'll see if they can flip the script. Bring us back to the good old days. Vote for Key Player of the Game at LEC on X, Oscarinin, Razork, and Jun. Honestly, this trio right here, sick. Like really, Oscar, Razork coming together nicely. Jun really showing up after the first split being solid. This is a team, I think, that when you look at the year, you can see each kind of step, each kind of leap they've made when it comes to their improvement. Wonder if that continues as we get into best of threes and best of fives. On the opposite side, MDK, of course, a tough split thus far. Playoffs, the only thing that matters right now. From there, again, one step at a time, one game at a time. But for now, just to see how tomorrow goes.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard Nightshare talk about it on Euphoria, plug, which is like, this is a team that has very set plays and set decisions that they want to continuously drill and get better and fall back to. But every time it looks so good that it doesn't matter if you know it's coming, you can't stop it. And we've seen teams win worlds with these types of styles. So I think it's a right call from Fnatic, and it's been paying dividends for them.
Look, all I heard is win worlds, and that's the kind of hopium that I need. It's the kind of option that I want. We gear up, we get ready. We're going to talk to somebody at the end of this game.
We'll find out. In
the meantime, I think that it's a good look overall from Fnatic. Again, they're undefeated, so that's unsurprising. But the development is the bigger story. Even if they were 4-2 or had just barely scraped into playoffs, if you look at the way this team plays, that's, I think, what gets me really fired up, right? The fact that we see that marked improvement, the fact that when we go in tomorrow, even if G2's at full strength, it feels like Fnatic is finally building into the contender that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, I think there is still moments with like a little bit of macro on that where I'd like to see improvements, but look, the team has talked about it already. The thing that really stands out to me is their team fighting. I was watching like a ton of their games earlier on. I was just could not get over how well they orchestrate team fights, how so many people are coming in at the correct angles to catch people out of their overextended, or even just falling back into choke points that give them advantages. There's a lot of conscious thought on how they're approaching Rift Herald fights or Void Grub fights, and it's why we're seeing them get these early leads that they can run away with.
Yeah, and overall, like that aggressive instinct with the ability to team fight backed by a lot of the set plays that, again, we talked to Nightshare about, right? Having that reliable fallback when you don't know what you're supposed to be doing seems to have been the core of Fnatic's growth overall. And when we look at the rest of the league, right, I think you see a lot of teams that while they hit the ground running or while they might have found early leads and early advantages, a lot of teams haven't been able to get the full picture. Sometimes the early game is good, but the mid to late game is really questionable. In fact, frequently here it's the mid to late game, individual members getting caught out. So when you can iron out that team synergy, when your team is consistently playing for the same things, overall, we can see what that is going to give you. And right now, it means that Fnatic are undefeated.
Yeah, and I think a large portion of that has been, this team relying on Humanoid. I think Humanoid has stepped up massively, both obviously in the domestic, but even in the regular split as well. I think he's just been so crucial to that success on champions like the way in the Taliyah.
Has been, but another man who's been crucial is Oscar on the top side of the map, and he's standing by with Ginny.
Thank you so much. He has absolutely been crucial. Welcome everyone to the Marriott Bonvoy post-game check-in. Oscar, before we even started this interview, I said 6-0. How does it feel to go that way?
It obviously feels nice to go 6-0 because it means that we are doing things well, right? I think it's been a pretty good season by us and we are really consistent, which is why it feels good to be 6-0 because we are not having up and downs and we are actually playing really well almost every game. And yeah, I'm really happy with that.
I think pretty well is like a very humble way of approaching it, because technically it's perfect. This is the longest win streak that we've had in the LEC since the introduction of the new format, so I think you guys can be very proud of yourselves. I want to touch upon a little bit more in terms of what's coming for the future. So tomorrow, when you have your game against G2, I want to talk about your matchup, particularly in that top lane. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, I'm feeling good playing against BB tomorrow. I think last games he's been playing pretty well, but I think I've been playing pretty well too, and I feel like I'm probably the best right now, so I will try to show it tomorrow.
Is there anything that you do particularly ahead of games to prepare for, okay, we're going to go into this, we're not going to go back to our old ways, we're going to stick to clean gameplay?
I mean, like every day we are just trying to focus a lot on our scrims, like trying to not go back to the old Fnatic, because we already talked about that, and sometimes it shows a bit on scrims, but I think lately we've been doing good on trying to hide it, and like the old Fnatic is not coming back, seems like.
Aww.
So yeah, we've been working a lot on it because we really want to be consistent and not have shit series against someone that we should win against. And yeah, I think we are doing pretty good.
When you're talking about focusing on not letting the voices win, the old Fnatic come back, how do you as a player, as the top laner, make sure that, okay, I am going to hold off on the engage, or I'm going to make sure that I ping everyone back? How do you stay in that mental state?
I think everyone has a responsibility, like in the game, and we have to just do it. I think, like for example, I have to be aware of the TPs, be aware of the jungle and what's happening on the map, you know. Like everyone has some responsibilities, and we just have to cover them and to be aware of what's happening at every point of the game. And yeah, I think we are playing together really well, and yeah, that's it.
Is there a way that you've cultivated the synergy of playing together very well outside of just scrims? Do you guys have any team activities that you take part of that you're maybe a fan of?
And we do team activities, but I think like they are not that important. I think they are only important if you are having a bad week, a bad games in general, so you can reset a bit the mental. I think we had some bad days, 2 or 3 in a row, and we went on a team activity, and I think it helped on the mood for everyone. We went to escape room.
That's fun.
Yeah, but I think it's only important if you are doing bad.
And I want to talk about the future as well, because what is the future looking like for Oscar?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I just want to keep playing well consistently and trying to improve day by day. And yeah, I just want to become the best top in LEC and compete internationally against the best.
Hey, so far you're doing pretty well in that. I also want to highlight the amount of Fnatic fans that we had over today. It was literally the entire section to my right was filled with Fnatic fans. So they're here cheering for you, they're here cheering for the rest of your team, but is there anything you want to share with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think this split for now has been really amazing from the fan side too, because we are having a lot of support, and I can actually feel it. Like, it's really insane. And yeah, when you are having like bad games, like it also helps a lot. But when you're having good games, like it also feels nice, no? That someone is telling you, "Wow, you're insane." So yeah, I think it motivates everyone, and it really shows like in social media.
Yeah, I think respect to all the fans as well for coming out and supporting. But on the topic of motivation, if the fans weren't there, I mean, they're here, they're cheering for you, how would you motivate yourself?
I mean, right now, we just don't want to be complacent. Like, we are 6-0, but we want to do the perfect run, right? We just want to be the best and play clean every game, so we don't have, like, up and downs. We want, again, to have a really bad game someday and then a good game, because then maybe someday that we have a really important match, we will show the bad face of Fnatic. So we want to just keep up the good performances and yeah, just try to be as good as possible in every game.
Well, I'm looking forward to that perfect run. You have only a couple games left, so it is very much possible. Thank you so much for taking the time for the interview.
Thank you.
I do appreciate it. I will take your microphone off of you, and I will see you around. And with that, we are done with the interview with Oscarinin, but we still have PGL coming up.